All right, guys, in today's video, we need to talk. And I am going to be very, very straightforward and honest with all of you, because what I am seeing in comment sections and Facebook posts and Reddit forums and all over the internet is a failure to understand the core aspects of the law of assumption. Full disclaimer, I want nothing more than to see you succeed with this. I want nothing more than to see everybody who comes into the law of assumption finding out about conscious manifestation to radically transform their life. Nothing more, nothing less. But what most people are doing, and yes, I'm going to use the word most, what most people are doing is they are going about this in a way that is not going to work. And again, this is coming from a place of love. This is coming from a place of wanting you to succeed. But with that said, we need to talk, because the way that most people are going about this will not see them succeed. Most people will not see success approaching the law of assumption the way they are approaching it. And what do I mean by this? I mean that for a lot of people out there, they are jumping from video to video, spending hours a day looking on YouTube, looking on TikTok, going on Facebook groups, going on forums, going on this, going on that, looking for something they feel like they're missing, looking and looking and looking for the next technique that can have them have this breakthrough. They're hearers of the word instead of doers. The law of assumption is incredibly simple in that whatever you imagine, whatever you assume and believe to be true, whatever you feel is normal and natural and real for you is what becomes your physical 3D reality. Whatever the internal world is saying and feeling and doing is what becomes the external reality. So if we want to change the outside, we must first and always change the inside. But if you are not imagining yourself as the person you want to be, if you are not letting yourself feel into that state of consciousness that you desire to occupy, if you are not spending time getting to know, getting familiar with that desired reality in your imagination, if you are still completely foreign to what it would feel like and what it would be like to have and be the person you want to be, then you are failing to understand the core aspects of this practice. Instead, what most people are doing is they are trying too hard to manifest. And this must be heard. If you take nothing else away from this video, if you take nothing else away from any video, let it be this. You cannot try to manifest and successfully manifest. This is not an approach that can come through force, willpower, or effort. And to give you an example, one of the comments that I see almost everywhere is somebody saying something along the lines of, Missy, it's been 4 months or 6 months or 1 year that I've been trying to manifest this thing and it's still not here yet. Why is it not here yet? And my answer to that is always the same. Have you been living in the end for the last 4 months or 6 months or a year? Can you tell me that you have actually been imagining and feeling into and living in imagination as the person you desire to be for that length of time? Or even part of that time? Or maybe what you really mean is that you've been watching videos about manifestation for that amount of time and equating that with trying to manifest. Because this is not a trying process, and that is something that I'm seeing all over the place. The number one reason, from what I have gathered and what I am seeing, the number one reason that you are failing to manifest is because you are trying too damn hard to manifest. And I know this sounds like the most gigantic paradox, so hear me out, because I'm going to try to break this down in as simplest terms as I possibly can. It goes without saying that the reason we're all here is because we want something. We want a change in the 3D. We are not happy with our current circumstance, and we desire to fix that or change that. But the way that we change it, the way that we change the 3D circumstance, is not through conscious effort or force. This is not about trying too hard. This is not about casting magic spells to make the 3D change. This is about changing on the inside. This is about your internal world. This is about the internal change that needs to take place, because everything that you manifest is all you pushed out. It is all your internal world expressed. The outside world is only a mirror of your internal world. So if you are fixating on the idea that you need to change something out there, you've already taken the wrong approach. The only way that out there is going to change is if it changes first in here. And this is very much something that I have been saying in many videos now and for some time. And that is, stop trying to get something, because there is nothing out there to get. There is nothing that you will get on the outside by imposing your will and trying through force to change it. And this was my big epiphany when it came to my journey and manifesting my person. This was something that fundamentally had to change. I realized that the approach that I was coming at this was the wrong approach, because what I was doing was I was desperately trying to get him back. I was desperately trying to get him to do what I wanted him to do. And everything in my practice was centered around that. The sats that I was doing, my affirmations, my self-love, all of the tools that I was utilizing was to try to get him to change and get him to do what I wanted him to do. But what I realized when I was doing this was I was thinking about him as separate from me. By taking this approach of trying to get them to do something outside of you, you are aware of the fact that they are separate from you. You are constantly bringing into awareness the separation of you and your desire, of you and the state of consciousness that you wish to occupy. I was constantly, through my awareness and how I was approaching this, I was separating myself from my aim. Success came for me after I realized that I didn't need him to do anything. I didn't need anything from the 3D, because it's not about the 3D. Instead, my practice became changing the way that I was thinking and perceiving my own reality. It became about changing my conception of them, my conception of myself, how I was thinking and viewing and looking at myself and him and the dynamic between us. My practice was no longer about getting the 3D to change. It was about perfecting, retaining, and sustaining a new state within myself. It became about creating in imagination this world, this ideal that I wanted to experience. I started to become, in my imagination, the person that I wanted to be. And I did it for the sake of enjoying the feeling of it. We need to understand that if we are taking the approach of doing this to change something out there, that is also inherently going to make us continue to look out there. By taking this approach, we are constantly looking for validation. We're constantly looking to see if it worked. We're constantly looking on the outside to see if anything's changing yet. But do you see how we continue to bring into awareness the fact that it's not here? We are continuously putting ourselves in a state that says, I don't have it. And you cannot be in a state of not having it and in a state of having it. It can't be both. It just can't be both. So we have to drop this idea of trying to do this to change the 3D. We have to stop approaching this from trying to get something and make the 3D change on the outside. That will automatically happen once you change from within. That's not your job. The 3D ain't nothing to do with you. That's not your job. What we need to remember is that the 3D world is a shapeshifter. It's nothing to take seriously. We don't have to get stressed out about it. We don't need to worry about it, because that will change once you change. So if you are doing a technique, if you are doing sats or affirmations or whatever it may be, and then opening your eyes and saying, Okay, cool. Where is it? Why is it not here yet? Did I do something wrong? What happened? Then you are taking the wrong approach. You done it wrong. Okay, so if this is not the approach to take, then what is the approach to take? What do we want to do to ensure our success with the law? The only objective and the only goal here, ever, is to enjoy the feeling of it. The only thing that you need to focus on is the internal feeling of your objective, what you are feeling and the enjoyment of it. You are only doing the techniques to enjoy the feeling of it. Nothing more, nothing less. Hey you guys, Missy from the future here, and I wanted to come in as I was editing this video and just give an analogy really quick to try to break this down and give you a clearer picture of what exactly I'm trying to say here. Because analogies are fun and you guys seem to like them. So what I want you to do is I want you to imagine for a moment that you're standing in front of a mirror. Now, once you see yourself in front of this mirror, I want you to go ahead and change your reflection. And what are some ways that you can go about doing this? You could change your clothes, you could don a face mask, you could change up your hairstyle. So just go ahead and change something about your reflection really quick and I'll wait. All done? Now, did you notice something about your reflection change? Good. Now, let me ask you something. Did you really change your reflection there? Or did you change yourself and thus the reflection changed? And if we think about it, can we really change our reflection? Like if I were to ask you to go in and manually change your reflection without changing yourself, would you be able to do it? The answer is no. No, you couldn't. The only way to change your reflection in the mirror is by first changing yourself. And this is one of the first analogies that we learn when we find out about the law of assumption. This is one of the first things that we hear about, that our world is a mirror of us. But somehow it's still failing to click or register. Because what this means is that you cannot change the 3D. You can only change yourself, and thus the 3D changes. So going into this, the most fundamental thing to understand always is that you're not trying to change the 3D. You're changing the I am, and thus the 3D changes. Now, I hope that helped to paint a clearer picture, and I hope that makes a little bit more sense now. Bye, guys. The only objective is the feeling of satisfaction, enjoying what it feels like and what it is going to be like, what it is currently like as the version of you that you desire. And how you can figure this out is by asking yourself one simple question. What is the difference between the person that you are and the person that gets what you want? If you answer that question, that is all you need to know. That is the only question you must answer. And once you have that answer, then you are going into your imagination for the feeling of enjoyment, for the feeling of satisfaction of it. You are letting yourself get lost in your imagination because it feels good to do so, not to change the 3D environment. So if you catch yourself checking the 3D, if you catch yourself focusing on the external world, if you start to think to yourself, where is it? Why is it not here yet? Did I do something wrong? That is your mental cue. That is your cue that it has been too long since you have lived in that world internally. So you want to go back to that world in imagination and back to that feeling in imagination if you catch yourself starting to spend too much time out in the 3D. Your internal world is your home base, so make it a loving one, make it a desirable one. If you are not imagining the very best outcomes and you are not enjoying the relief and satisfaction of the feeling of the wish fulfilled, then you are spending too much time out here and not enough time in here. You will not find success or be able to live in the end if you're constantly looking for signs and looking for the bridge of incidents and looking to see if you did it right and checking YouTube to see if there's another upload or bouncing from person to person on YouTube or TikTok. That is not going to ensure your success. What is going to ensure your success is where you are dwelling on the inside. So make this an internal practice, first, foremost, and always. When you are applying your techniques, when you are going in imagination, if it starts to feel forced, if it feels like work, if you are feeling burned out, if you're feeling like you are trying to concentrate too hard, you are putting way too much effort behind it. Manifestation is effortless. Let yourself enjoy the feeling for the sake of it feels good to do it. That's it. That is literally your only objective. If you do this, you will not fail. There is no hard work involved. There is no doing more. There is no fast secret method technique that is going to automatically make it so you snap your fingers and it appears. That's not how this works. And a failure to understand this is going to result in those comments that it's been a year and nothing's happened. So going forward, instead of thinking that we need to create something, that we need to change something, I want you to instead look at it like selection. We are just selecting a state that already exists. We do not need to change your person. We do not need to fix them or throw some kind of magic spell on them. None of that is necessary because there's already a version of them that is madly in love with you. There is already a state or reality where you are a millionaire and you are living your absolute fullest and best life. All we're doing is selecting. And by selecting, it's just enjoying the feeling of it in your imagination. So do not overcomplicate this. Do not make this harder than it has to be. This is not challenging. This is not hard work. This is not anything that you need to be fighting yourself over. When you go into imagination to enjoy the feeling of something, and just for the enjoyment's sake, no resistance. Because you're not trying to do anything. You're not trying to get anything. You're not trying to change anything on the outside. So take the pressure off of yourself, because when you do this, once you understand that this is all purely a mirror anyways, and all you are doing is rearranging and perfecting and internalizing as states just to enjoy the feeling of it, and that will automatically get the mirror to change, you'll be able to do anything. So on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was eye-opening. I hope that it helped to clear some things up in the biggest areas that I see people making things harder for themselves than they need to be. And like I said at the very beginning, my objective is your success with the law. And with that, first needs to be understanding that this is not a trying process. All we need to do is imagine. That's it. By doing so, we are going to naturally assume that we are now the person that we desire to be. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in checking out any of my other resources, I will leave links down below to my workshops and programs, my blog, my podcast, my social channels, all that good stuff. I got a ton of resources in that description box, so don't forget to check it out. Also, don't forget to check out the other videos on this channel. Don't forget to check out my Manifestation Fundamentals playlist. Each video is a different topic, but it all pertains in how to manifest the best life ever. Happy manifesting, guys.